This is Relatively Prime, all the podcasts in the mathematical domain. I am Samuel Hansen. Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of Relatively Prime. It features a live episode recorded at this year, 2018's Annual MathsJam Gathering over in England. It was an absolute ton of fun, and it features a bunch of little snippets of other math podcasts, such as Relatively Prime, and a bunch of others, which you will now learn about, and of course go out, subscribe, and listen to as well. Before we get on to all of the math podcasts, first I want to thank Lowercase N for the music I'm talking over right now, and a little snippet you'll hear later on. And now, without further ado, here are all the math podcasts.
Open the bracket, it's time for All Squared and several other podcasts as well.
Bring. Hey, Peter.
Hello, Samuel.
So, it's been a while.
I think we're still technically on hiatus, right?
We never did officially cancel this show, which, by the way, is Maths, 5,138 miles of mathematics.
Or something.
Yeah, back when I lived in Las Vegas, which was approximately 7 years ago. And we went on hiatus 6 years ago when I definitely wasn't living in Las Vegas. I don't think I had a home. Did I have a home?
Possibly not.
So, for those of you who don't know, Maths is a show talking about the important news from the world of mathematics. So, what news do you have for me this week, Peter?
I'm pretty sure in that many years there have been some exciting developments in A-level mathematics.
No, God. Okay, for those of you who don't know, Peter used to do this to torture me. He used to bring up A-levels and GCSEs. Why do I remember this? This literally has no effect on my life whatsoever. Okay, what has been going on in A-levels?
I don't know, but an interesting recent thing is the kilogram. And that actually made me think of you. They're redefining the kilogram, and I'm sure that's something.
Why did it make you think of me?
Because I think we used to have a story every now and again that they were thinking of redefining the kilogram, and they finally have done it.
So how have they redefined the kilogram? How do you redefine a weight, or a mass, or a measure of some sort?
The kilogram is officially a lump of metal in Paris, and that is, by definition, a kilogram. So
that seems completely logical. Of course, leave the French in charge. It's much better than leaving either of our countries in charge.
But the problem is, so I think originally a lot of the units were defined in terms of physical things. The meter was a bit of metal, the kilogram was the weight of a bit of metal, or what have you. The problem with that is that these things can change over time, and various of them have been redefined. I think the meter was first redefined in terms of the distance from the pole to the equator, something like that, and now it's the distance that light travels in a very small amount of time.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. The kilogram, as far as I remember it, and the reason I was thinking about you is because I was writing it up for the Aperiodical, and I was trying to look up, I'm sure I've written this up before for the Aperiodical, but I haven't, so I think it must have been for Maths, was that there were sort of competing versions of what a kilogram might be, and they seem to have chosen one in the intervening time.
Do you remember what it is?
No, it's something to do with Planck's constant.
Okay, so the kilogram is now defined in some way to do with Planck's constant, which is the news for this week. But I do think that someone might have a number of the podcast or something like that. Or maybe that's a show that has something to do with the number of the podcasts. Everyone, Colin Beveridge. What did I forget to tell you that you are in charge of doing the things that your show does every week or month?
Yes, of course you did.
That does sound a lot like me. Do you have a random number that you want to give?
Yeah, I'm going for 2/3.
And why is that?
It's my entry into the mnemonic competition.
The mnemonic competition.
It was a Charles Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll system for memorizing things using letters, and I came up with a mnemonic to remember the decimal expansion of 2/3.
Okay, and here I was thinking that it was just because 2/3 of the people on this podcast are not actually a part of the podcast that we are currently recording, which is wrong but useful.
Yes.
Which also usually has Reflective Maths, who is Dave Gale in real life.
Yes, I'm Ice Cold Beverage. I'm Colin in real life.
Peter, do you want to join in on this?
Yes, but I'm not holding a microphone. This is extremely lo-fi. So is this where I say I'm Peter Ollett, who's Peter Ollett in real life?
Yeah, very good.
Like an idiot
yeah,
for
you were very lucky. Samuel_Hansen on Twitter, which I no longer use, and Samuel Hansen in real life. And so what are we going to do for this? Are we going to wrap up what we thought was interesting so far today at MathsJam?
I think that's a good idea. What did you find interesting at MathsJam?
Well, let's see. I have this wonderful little notebook here. Oh, that's right. The most important thing, I now know why I'm more popular than Peter. My last name is earlier on in the alphabet, because one of the first things that we learned today is that the earlier the letter that starts your last name is, the more popular you're going to be as a person. And also, I think the better you are as a person, which actually makes Colin, out of all of us, the most popular and best person.
At least on this sofa.
So, what did you think was interesting so far today?
I enjoyed Kevin Houston's talk about finding where a photo was taken from. So finding a calculation based on a building in the picture, do some sums, and you can go back to the exact spot the picture was taken from and take the same picture at a different time.
Peter, do you have any highlights as you have to swap that microphone? This one's cable is really short, otherwise I'd share.
Sure. I left my notebook back in my room. I was kind of interested in...
Always unprepared.
I'm going to say two bad things here. I was kind of interested in your talk.
That is the right amount of interest.
No, I'm not sure. And I'm going to qualify that by talking about myself for a bit, which is not good either. But a few years ago, I was on the Council for the British Society for the History of Mathematics, and we coordinated a paper in Nature called The Unplanned Impact of Mathematics, which was examples of times in history when a piece of mathematics has turned out to be extremely useful in a way that couldn't have been planned for. The idea being that often funding councils ask you to say in advance what your research is going to be used for, and you often don't know what that might be, because it might be 300 years later in some field that doesn't exist yet. What I found quite interesting, so Samuel's talk was about actually tracking citations of papers and the profile of different papers in different disciplines. And there were a lot of examples where the maths paper basically got no citations for decades and then suddenly erupted. And some extremely famous papers that have hardly had any citations overall. But I'd be really interested to see the proper, thorough, do your homework version of that, please.
Well, I am currently working on it, and by working on it, I mean I'm currently trying to put together the computer that I need in order to do the data analysis of the multi-terabyte database that I'm going to have to mine in order to get all of this information. Eventually, that'll come out, I think. So, were there any other highlights? I personally really liked the talk by Adam Townsend about the need for a £1.75 coin in order to decrease the number of coins that are given back in change. This, of course, is completely meaningless to my country because we have $1 bills and not coins. I mean, technically we have $1 coins, but no one uses them. But I'm definitely going to go back and write to the Fed and ask them to please implement a $1.75 coin, because they really like the idea of more coinage historically. Were there other highlights from y'all?
Yeah, I thought there were a few good talks about geometry and shapes. I liked Hugh Hunt's thing about the chain hanging on a cone. There's a really good reveal in that. And there's some origami and some embroidery and
the sort of pull on a rope folding polyhedra, very nice.
Yes, Barney Montetailor's.
Do we have anyone in the audience who wants to shout out a favorite? What? Oh, The Cat and Mouse, yes. By Ben Sparks, yes.
Spark Maths.
Yep, Spark Maths.
Pass the calculator, pass the maths.
Oh, yeah. Pass the maths. So a lot of GeoGebra fans in the audience here tonight.
My friends.
We are, of course, recording at MathsJam, and it's been a great day, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Indeed.
Next up, I would like to welcome a show that has one episode in their feed at the moment, making their MathsJam and a potentially live show debut. This is Talkdust from the Talkdust magazine for the mathematically curious.
I think that means I can move. Nobody has a plan for this except Samuel in his own head. So,
and here they are.
All right, lovely. Hello, everyone. So I'm aforementioned Adam Townsend at Peckner on Twitter. This is what happens when you give yourself a Twitter handle based on your Hotmail account you wrote when you were 12.
And I am TD Dang, and I am at Television Duck on Twitter.
Lovely. So this is our second
attempt at a podcast episode. And I think we're going to play a game now called Guess the Number.
Okay, right. So the way this works is I think of a number, and then you have to ask questions, and I can only answer yes or no. Is that correct?
Yes.
No, I say yes or no. Okay, so I've thought of a number.
Okay, what number are you thinking of?
See, I'm not allowed to answer that. I can only answer yes or no.
Oh, now I understand the rules of the game. Okay, have you thought of a number?
Yes.
Okay, is it an even number?
No.
Okay, so is it an odd number?
No.
So is it a complex number?
No.
So does it exist?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that this number falls under a class of number that has like a name given to it? So say like the Fibonacci numbers, or Mersenne primes, or
No.
No. Could you? So it's not an odd number and it's not an even number. So is it rational?
Yes.
Okay, it's rational. It's not -1/12, right? Because we guessed that last time.
I'm afraid -1/12 is officially not hot, so I'm pretty sure that was in one of our hot or not columns.
Wait, so it's not positive either.
I didn't say that.
Okay, so it is positive.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say it's a pretty large number?
No.
Okay, because we've established that it's a fraction, right?
Correct. This is fascinating radio. I hope everyone's playing along.
Would you
at
say
home.
it's between 0 and 1?
Yes.
Okay, is it a half?
No.
Okay, is it... would you say that the denominator is even?
No.
Would you say that the denominator is odd?
Do I have to write it in its simplest form?
Yes.
Then yes.
Is it 2/3?
Yes. Were you not listening to Colin? I thought I'd steal his number.
It is the number of the podcast.
It's the number of the podcast.
Yep, so I think we'll wrap up with a fact of the podcast. So our fact today is that about 25 species of scorpions are known to have venom capable of killing a human.
That's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. The studio, for everyone listening, it's all a bit Graham Norton. So sort of everyone's sort of sitting around on these very brightly coloured chairs. We have an audience watching us, which is fantastic. There's a lovely thing here at MathsJam where everyone writes their name badges, and then at the end of the conference you give them back, and then they're brought back every year so that you get to sort of pick your name badge up. It's quite green and quite...
Yeah, but didn't Colin throw the box away last year and then somehow dug it out somewhere this year? So we have name badges from 2 years ago, actually.
Which is really exciting because it's a bit like a graveyard of MathsJam's sort of bravest
Yeah.
and best, and so many fallen heroes who haven't made it. You're like, oh, awkward, they don't show up anymore. But it was nice to know them. Lovely. So do we know who's on next? Oh, okay, we're going back to Sam. that makes complete sense. So, TD, where can people hear more Talkdust?
I think it's probably best to check our website,
Which is?
chalkdustmagazine.com.
Excellent. What else can you find there?
You can find articles and reviews.
And what if people want to get physical copies of this magazine that we print 4,000 of?
Then
every 6
maybe
months?
you can order them from our website.
Brilliant. And then if people are cold and need something to wear?
Oh, then you can also order some very thin printed T-shirts on our website.
Well, that's excellent. I'm sure everyone will very much enjoy that, and I look forward to hearing what people are talking about tomorrow on MathsJam. Lovely, Sam. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you all very much. Not you, Peter. What are you doing? I'm gonna hand it. Man, you're bossier than I remember you being. So I want to welcome everybody to Strongly Connected Components interviews with people from the math. Am I trying to steal Peter's other show? I think I'm trying to steal Peter's other show. So technically, I'm doing both Strongly Connected Components and I am also doing Travels in a Mathematical World now. And my guest on this episode of Strongly Connected Components is the most interesting mathematician in the world, according to the Aperiodical's Big Internet Math Off, and also a mathematical consultant.
Yes, that's right.
And currently the vice president and of soon to be president of the IMA, Nair Chamberlain.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So can you tell me when was it that you really started to get interested in mathematics?
I'd say I'd get interested in mathematics when I was doing my mathematics degree, and I was doing a secondment at the RF base, and I realised that I actually could become a professional mathematician, and that's when I really got into mathematics, thinking this is something I could really do for life.
So do you remember what it was that sort of convinced you that this was the thing that you could do as a career, as opposed to just a subject to study?
Well, I think it was when somebody said that you couldn't solve this using mathematics, and they said that mathematics was very limited. And what I did is I wrote an algorithm, and I saw the people say, I was thinking, oh, well, actually, this is quite interesting. This is very, very good. We didn't realize you could actually use mathematical modeling in this way. And then I actually was really going out, because I had the attitude that I was sure you can solve everything and everything using mathematics. And that's how I actually started pursuing my mathematical career in mathematical modeling.
So what are some of the things that you've modeled over your career? I mean, because you consult all over the place, right?
Okay, right. Wow, okay. I've written a computer virus for a Formula One car, evacuated a Caribbean island from a volcano, an explosion of a pipeline, airflow through an aircraft engine, redesign a whole aircraft carrier.
I'm going to stop you now, because clearly you can keep going, but I at least want to go into one of these. You wrote a computer virus for a Formula One car?
Yes. At one stage, there was a company that actually was supporting a Formula One, and what they found was that the car was going too slow. And they said, okay, well, we will need to redesign our simulation to improve the car speed. And they said, oh, could we actually do this manually? And I'm thinking, because it was actually in the middle of the racing season, I thought, well, if I'm doing this, it's going to take me forever. And I thought, what's the quickest way to write a computer program? And I thought the quickest way was actually to write a computer virus. So I wrote a computer virus that generated the simulation, which then was given to the Formula One the designers who designed the component, which embedded into the Formula One car, and away we go.
Okay, I'm very rarely rendered without words by someone's answer, but congratulations. I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. And you've also helped, you said, evacuate an island.
Yes, yeah.
So from what? What was the reason for the
Oh,
evacuation?
okay. Well, what was happening was that there was a Caribbean island, and the Caribbean island was dominated by a volcano. And what happened is that when the volcano actually erupted, there was actually nowhere place for them to go. And it was the case of actually coming up with a model to saying, okay, given the flow of the lava, where was the best place actually to locate the people so that we could actually rescue the people off the island. So away we go.
Well, and it worked, I'm assuming. Like you got the people off the island.
We got the people off the island.
Well, that's awesome. Now to just spin a little bit, you're now the world's most interesting mathematician.
With some caveats.
So I just have one question about this. How many people do you now have coming up to you on the street and just asking you all about this amazing title that you have?
I go to some places and people come and say, "Oh, this is Naira Chamberlain, he's the world's most interesting mathematician." And I said, "Yes, with caveats, but away we go." So it's happening quite often.
Okay, well, Naira, thank you so much for talking to me a bit about the things that you've modeled and for coming on Strongly Connected Components.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Naira Chamberlain, everybody. Yes, thank you. So I'm talking into both mics now. I feel to have the ultimate power. Just all of the power in the world. I believe next up is going to be the Aperiodcast, which existed at one point in life, which means I have to run away now.
Okay, fantastic. I'm Katie Steckles from the Aperiodical, and I will be joined by Peter, who you've recently just heard from.
Am I in this one as well?
Yes, that's why you're holding a microphone.
You're going to be in another one, too, that you don't know about yet.
And also Christian.
Oh, hi.
Excellent. So,
can I just say, I think Naira is an absolutely fascinating person. I think the story of Naira writing a virus to change a lot of data quickly is literally an episode of Travels in the Mathematical World that I spoke to him about.
Yeah. So, in fact, because I feel like I'm on too many podcasts now, but at the start of this podcast, very confusingly, I opened a bracket, and that's because one of the podcasts that we used to do as part of the Aperiodical was the All Squared podcast, in which we would interview interesting people about their maths. So I think I'm going to bag the Naira interview for that as well. So it's not only a Travels in Mathematical World and a Strongly Connected Components. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? This is all the podcasts at once. So this is technically an All Squared podcast.
As far as I understand, yes, and that's for people who are worried about the hanging bracket. That
Yeah, we're definitely going to close that at the end. If we forget, I'll be very sad. And in fact, should I just close it now?
No,
we'll do it at the end. Okay, because we have to do it at the start and the end.
Yeah.
So that was one of our podcasts. But the other one, which is, I guess, the one that we're doing now, is that we used to do the Aperiodcast, which was a semi-regular catch-up about how things are going with the Aperiodical since our last catch-up, which was several years ago.
I think semi-regular is a bit strong.
Well, it was aperiodic. That was our thing. So the Aperiodical is our blog that the three of us curate. I don't know what the word is. We write and we edit and we create guest posts and things happen and it's great. And the Aperiodcast was essentially just backslapping where we would talk about how great it was. So since our last Aperiodcast, many things have happened. So Christian Perfect is now Christian Lawson Perfect. Both Peter and Christian now have children, which they did not previously have.
That's true. My son is absolutely obsessed with Guess Who. I kept wanting to ask Adam if his number had a moustache or not.
That is one way to play Guess the Number. Not many numbers have a moustache, though. So since our last podcast on the Aperiodical, I guess things have happened. We've continued to turn out quality content, I believe is the case. And I think, Christian, can you tell us about the world's most interesting mathematician competition?
Yeah, I suppose I can. It was a competition wherein I got people to write about interesting maths for my edification and also so that stuff would appear on the site instead of me having to write it. But it turned out being a lot more admin than I imagined. But it worked out in the end because if you do the admin, then you get nice stuff. So it was really good to see all the Naira's things and all the stuff everybody else put in. I managed not to alienate any of my friends. It was the unofficial title in the Slack channel was Christian Alienates All His Friends Month. So I'm still on speaking terms with all of them. Yeah.
How many people took part?
Good question.
Some power of two. I just can't remember which.
I think it was 16. Yeah, four rounds sounds achievable.
It was 4 rounds. I made 4 rounds of things, and then one of the members of our current audience beat me in round 1.
So yeah, one of the sad things was that some people prepared all their stuff in advance of the competition starting. So I now have a lot of material that was never used. And I think you put out your stuff as relative time episodes, and some has gone, like Jim Prop used all his stuff on his blog.
So some of us, on the other hand, prepared one thing and then hoped that we wouldn't get through to the next round.
Actively campaigned not to get into the next round.
I may have done, yes.
So that's good. And, I may do it again next year if, I don't know if I feel similarly.
You heard it here first.
Oh, I may hold you to that. So Naira kept qualifying that he was the world's most interesting mathematician with caveats. Yep. What were the caveats?
I'll try and remember them all. It was most interesting mathematician of the people that I asked to take part and that were available in July.
And were willing. Yes, some people were available and I asked them, but they weren't willing. And win all 4 matches? Is that the kind? Something like that. I think the crucial thing is that not every mathematician in the world took part. Yes. It's not a canonical, what's the word? Exhaustive search process. And the methodology had many flaws, particularly the vote.
We have narrowed it down. Like, we're closer. We're one step closer.
We're about 15 people.
Yeah, so if if we now do the same thing for the next 15 years, in year 16 we could put all of the winners in a bracket together. So we just need 16 squared people to participate. It'd be great. So yeah, possibly again next summer. Are we accepting submissions? Are we saying if you think you're interesting enough, send us an email?
I wouldn't say it like that because people aren't likely to volunteer.
I guess. Although some people did messages and say, "Oh, I missed the application process for this," and we were
really?
Like, "It was you got an email from CP." Yeah.
They want to know where the heats happened.
If you think you're an interesting mathematician, expect an email.
Yes, that is a good way of putting it.
Have alienated everybody.
Yeah, everyone who doesn't get an email now, you've alienated. So you've alienated like 6 billion minus 16 people on this next one.
So not to jump into a show that's not mine, that I haven't already done a bunch already, but is there anything going on currently? Like what's like going on right now on the Aperiodical?
Well, yeah, we've got a really cool thing happening this month. So this is the month of November, but we're referring to it by a slightly different name, which I am not confident I will correctly pronounce, but I'm going to have a go. No one knows how it's actually pronounced.
We have discussed it extensively.
Yeah. So many conversations about pronunciation. So I think it's Nurtember is what we're going with, because Emmy Noether was a German mathematician who was, by all accounts, basically a legend. And we're having a month of celebrating Noether. So we've collated a list of 30 facts about Emmy Noether, and in the style of Inktober, which is a thing which artists and illustrators do the month of October to try and get them producing content. Like people who are maybe a bit worried that they're not doing enough drawing work, or they want to give themselves a bit of inspiration. In Inktober, you get a daily theme, and you have to draw a picture every day for a month. And it can be a tiny little drawing or a full-on piece of art, but as long as you're producing something. So we thought we would mirror this idea a month later. And the inspiration, the idea for this is from a friend of ours called Constanza, who is an illustrator and mathematician who's coincidentally based in Germany. But Connie wanted to do this, and she said, "Who is up for this?" And we said, the Aperiodical is fully behind you on this project. So we've posted the list of 30 things, and people all over Twitter and Instagram and other places are putting together anything from pencil sketches all the way through to full-on collages, illustrations. And each day we have a different fact about Emmy Noether's life, and we're collating them all. At the end of the month, we'll do a roundup post with a bunch of stuff. We've just done a partway through the month semi-roundup post that's got all the things that have happened so far. But it's genuinely brilliant because people are putting on superb little drawings and essentially just celebrating the life of this person, because, like, it's so easy to forget about what is like what is involved in the life of a mathematician, I guess. So the story's gone all the way from, where she was born and how she grew up, through the struggles that she had, even just being allowed to go to university, because she was very much at the time when women weren't allowed to do the same things as men. So it was kind of like, can I come to uni? And they were like, well, technically no, but we'll let you sit in the back of the room if you want. And she had to kind of fight at every stage to be allowed to do things. And then she just basically changed the face of physics with Noether's theorem, and changed the face of algebra with, Noetherian rings and all of these things that are named after her. So she's very cool. I'm looking forward towards the end of the month. We've got some really mathematical entries in the list. I'm looking forward to seeing people's illustrations of a descending chain condition and all of these cool things. Yeah.
It is interesting. I have a week in my history of maths module where I kind of twist the students' arms into looking into a female mathematician, and they always come back with these incredibly sad stories of people being kind of held down in all sorts of places, but then becoming brilliant regardless. It's marvelous. What do I do if I've missed the first 20-odd days of this celebration? That means that I can't take part, right? I'm giving Sam a few days to get the episode live, right?
I totally forgive you, and you're very welcome to just join in at any point. Because the idea is, if you're not a professional illustrator, the benefit to your illustrating career won't necessarily be huge. But the idea is to get you talking about things and thinking about things. So whatever you can contribute. Some people have just done one picture of Emmy Noether and it's amazing and added it into the hashtag, and that's fine. If you don't want to follow the list, some people have made up their own lists.
And Christian is demonstrating absolutely live a new entry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm giving y'all the wrap-up motion because the MathsJam Jam is going to start in like 10 minutes, and we still have 2 more shows to get through.
Okay, I've very quickly drawn on my weird little tablet thing a picture of Emmy Noether, which is my entry for today, and I'll take a photo of that, I guess. Okay, everyone, the Aperiodcast. No, yeah, that's the right answer. So now. We'll have one more show after this, but first, this is Relatively Prime. I am Samuel Hansen. And if you've been following the most recent mini-series, Cycle of Mathematics, you'll have noticed that we've been talking a lot about research in mathematics, specifically the life cycle of mathematical research. And one of the things that is very, very important to mathematical research is, of course, citations. And so on the very first show, I talked to Duncan Watts about the research that Duncan did with Steve Strogatz into small world networks, literally inventing the mathematical definition of small world networks. And then later on, I interviewed a different mathematician, someone who actually has done research based off of Watts and Strogatz's work. And that mathematician is?
So, I'm Michelle Girvan. Michelle, Michelle, Girvan, Girvan. And
so Michelle actually ended up being another student of Steve Strogatz and did some very, very interesting work around small world networks and citing the Watts-Strogatz paper quite often. But I'm not actually here to play that because that's literally going to be the next episode that's going to come out in a couple of weeks. So instead, I want to play this little off clip about what can sometimes happen when mathematical citations are not exactly right.
My co-author, Mark Newman, wrote a review paper where he cited our paper, and there was an error in the citation. So then a lot of people who cited our paper were actually copying the reference from his paper. I think this is how it went. Because for a while, if you looked up the citation metrics, I would have 2 papers cited, and they were the same paper, but one was the mistyped reference, so people citing it secondhand, and one was people citing it directly.
So, very important, when you are doing your mathematical research, please remember to check your citation, people. Make sure that you're using the right one. And as a matter of fact, if you're going to cite a paper, probably read it first, because that was probably a sign that didn't happen. And that is all the time that we have for this episode of relatively prime. Up next on this smorgasbord of mathematical podcasting, we have Taking Maths Further with Katie Steckles and Peter Rowlett.
Excellent. So this is a slight surprise for Peter, who wasn't here when we realised that this was another thing we could do.
At the start and middle of Samuel's sentence, I didn't know where it was going to end, so that was interesting.
So Taking Maths Further was a podcast that Peter and I did years ago.
I think it's definitely the podcast that I've done that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was like a series of 20 half-hour podcasts that we did. Oh, I realised you were just doing a burn on Samuel. Excellent. Good.
It was a really good show.
Yeah, it was good. And we interviewed people about their jobs and how they use maths in it. So we've arranged an interviewee. So if I can invite from the audience, Ben.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm going to use this microphone. Excellent. Okay, so we have 2 questions for Ben, which I will ask him, and that will comprise the entire interview because we don't have half an hour.
I shouldn't have gone to the bar, should I?
That's fine. So the first question is, how do you use maths in your job?
Well, my job, I do a lot of work with radio, receiving radio signals, producing bits of equipment to do this. We're currently working on something that it's like a high-quality GPS receiver. I've done a lot of similar things. So there's a lot of complex numbers involved in that. The radio waves, it only occurred to me the other day that the imaginary parts of the signals I'm processing are not, in fact, real. It's something we've made up to make the processing easier, because after 10 years of working with them, the complex part is every bit as real as the real part. And that's certainly something that's very useful. And then there are a few other bits, like a lot of trigonometry, that kind of thing is in my job as well.
Excellent. So people learning trigonometry at school could imagine how that is then going to take them on into a career. Peter, do you have a question?
Yes, with my lots of preparation. Did you take A-level further maths?
Yes, I did.
And was it useful?
To be honest, it's so long ago now that I can't remember what was in the further maths module and what was in normal maths.
I'm totally the same. We often have this conversation about, people will say, because I teach at university, and someone will say, don't the students do this in A-level maths? And I'll say, no. And they'll say, oh, we did in my day. And I have no idea what I did in maths and what I did in further maths.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So conventionally we would end Taking Maths Further with a puzzle, but we have not prepared one, so let's not. But yeah, that was such a nice blast from the past. Thank you very much to Ben for being a very brief interviewee.
What that was missing totally was we used to do these quite long recordings where I would say to Katie, if you ask me this, then if I ask you this, then you could answer it this way. And then she would. And then you would say, now you can ask me this. And so I would. So all those recordings are like twice as long as the episode because it's us prompting each other, writing the script as we did it. But that's
we should dig those out and do some kind of outtakes clip of compilation of ridiculous things happening.
Because if you haven't listened, I mean, I am really quite proud of it. But we did this thing where I was a sort of idiot asking questions and Katie was answering the questions and telling me about the area of mathematics that you would have done in school, that then we went and interviewed someone about, and it was quite a nice sort of show. But yeah, it was quite often written on the fly.
Yeah. So that's that one. Do you want me to close the bracket yet, or you got some more stuff to do?
Because we have a secret podcast. Everyone, welcome to Combinations and Permutations. That's right, you thought you were done, but I'm pulling you back in for one last one. And of course, as is traditional in Combinations and Permutations, I'm now going to introduce my guests. Usually I give good introductions, but this person doesn't deserve one. Peter Rowlett.
Yes, I was wondering who I should hand the microphone to.
And then someone who actually does deserve very nice things, but I haven't had enough time to think of any. Katie Steckles.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, now I need the mic back. Thank you. This is you were clearly never on a Combinations and Permutations. I don't have a mute button, which I normally have. And as usual, I will bring up some sort of mathematical topic that I'm going to read from Wikipedia without telling my guests anything about it, because this was the meanest podcast. Why did I do this to people? So, Peter, tell me what you know about Giuseppe Piano.
Piano is axioms for arithmetic, right?
Oh, yeah, that's about as much as I know, too, and about as much of the Wikipedia articles I'm going to have time to read right now. Katie, do you have anything to add?
I think the word arithmetic jumped into my head before Peter said anything, but I put those two words together, but I couldn't really tell you anything else. But axioms does sound familiar. So is it like...
Foundations of Arithmetic.
Okay.
There's a book written by Douglas Giles called Fergie, Dedekind, and piano on the foundations of arithmetic.
I think it's trying to put arithmetic on a firm footing.
So is it like axioms of like transitivity and associativity, or?
And I've accidentally set myself up as the expert.
Yeah, you're totally the expert. You see, if we prepared, I could ask you this question. No.
Yeah, we don't prepare on this show. So from Wikipedia, the standard axiomatization of the natural numbers is named the piano axioms in his honor. So it was exactly what Peter said, building up the foundations of natural numbers into arithmetic. And that's all the time we have for combinations and permutations and strongly connected components and the Aperiodcast. And wrong but useful, Talkdust. Did I say relatively prime yet? Maths, and probably some other shows that I've completely... Oh, Taking Maths Further. And I'm gonna let Katie actually close this out after I say the most important thing. I hope that everyone has a mathorific week.
And it's time to close the bracket, and that's all squared.